statue that God gives us is to be fruitful and multiply, okay? And our government says destroy the very image of God, which the whole purpose of human government given by God was to preserve the image of God, that being
Well,
God.
and the supreme authority in the United States is the Constitution. So it's the FedGov that is violating resisting the supreme authority. It's patriots such as you and I, and libertarians and other patriots, constitutionalists, who are trying to restore the Constitution, who are obeying God's word of supporting the proper authorities in Romans 13. It's the government that is opposing Romans 13.
Listen, phone lines are open. When you have a question or comment, give us a call. We're talking about the absolutely right. It's first of all, Romans 13, listen, was written by a Christian. It was written to Christians. It was written about Christians to be complied with by Christians. Romans 13 was the ideal model of government, okay? We have only had that in the very infancy of our nation, when our nation was just founded, do we have that. We haven't had it since. Today, we have the farthest thing from Romans 13.
We had a very good government from 1789 to 1860, and reasonably good from 1877 to 1913. But with the income tax, the Federal Reserve System, the direct election of senators, you know where we've been going since then.
Well, absolutely, and we're seeing, again, we are a nation right now, if people understand this, that we're under occupation. The vast majority of people are la-la landers. They still don't get it.
But they're waking up.
You know,
they're starting to wake up about
that our White House is totally under communist occupation, that the liberal media, NBC, ABC, CBS, and these are simply propaganda pieces for the Communist Party.
Well, again, the media is the enemy. Once people understand that, all of the solutions come into play. Until they understand the media is the enemy, they won't understand anything. That's why we need alternate media, such as yourself, such as Alex Jones, such as John Stadtmiller, and others.
Yeah, I know John and I know Alex.
Oh, okay.
And let's go and open the phone lines. Phone lines are open, 888-677-9673. Maybe my coughing has run them off tonight. I know that it's been a tough night here. But 888-677-9673. What do you think about libertarian candidates, folks? What do you think about this? He thinks that all drugs should be made legal, that we have enough people in this country who are adults that can be responsible. Let's go to another area. The public school system. You believe that it's up to the parents, not the state, to feed, clothe, and teach their children.
Of course. For one thing, the public schools by nature have to be either agnostic or atheist. And you see now what this has caused to the morals of the country. If we have Christian schools and other private schools and parents teaching their children, this is the best way to restore our moral standards.
Well, we're seeing more and more in the rural, out in the country, more and more public school systems are trying to backtrack some. I've seen a number of parents say, we're not going to put up with this stuff and being taught to our children, and they went in and they let them know. And they've been addressing these school boards. We just recently had a situation in the Parma schools where they wanted to bring planned predators, the most vile, the most ungodly, the most sinister, the most unclean organization in the world. They wanted to bring them in and teach what they call sex education, but it's clearly how-to classes on fornication. Okay.
I attended part of that meeting. I didn't have a chance to speak. Of course, if my proposal goes through, all of these public school problems will cease in 3 years. The best way to bring down the public schools is to withdraw support, but the problem is the parents are still paying taxes to the government system.
Well, today we have a country where about half the people aren't paying any taxes anymore. Many of them are getting out. We have a situation now today where more businesses, you have small businessmen that are actually paying their employees with silver dollars or gold. So, they're when they pay them when they pay them $1 an hour, it's legal currency.
That's good.
And so
Yes.
more and more, I'm going back. We see here again people saying enough. We don't want communism. We want liberty. We want freedom.
You mentioned the 47% who aren't paying income taxes. A lot of them are still paying Social Security taxes. They're still paying local property taxes. They're still paying sales taxes. They're still paying a lot of hidden. Well, every time they deal with the corporation will have them pay its tax, because any business has to pass along its taxes, or it will go out of business.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, they're not paying income taxes directly, and in a way this is dangerous, because some of them are brainwashed into thinking that, well, it's okay, I can steal from the people who are still working and paying taxes. That's not good. On the other hand, if more people stop paying it, if everybody didn't have to pay income taxes, that would be great.
Well, you have these regulation czars, and you see them tightening and tightening and tightening, more and more and more regulations in different neighborhoods now. They come by with rulers, and they measure how high your grass is, and you can get fined. Or
Yes,
they come
I know.
by and they look and they see how long your garbage can's been in the corner. Or
Yes,
they
I
can
know.
fine you.
Yeah.
More and more, or they look and they say, well, you're flying the American flag, and that doesn't go with their neighborhoods, so they don't want you to fly the American flag.
Especially upside down.
Right, this is pure communism.
Of course it is, yeah.
And we have the duty. We are a nation at war. How many people do you think understand that we are a nation that is under occupation, foreign, which
maybe
is...
Maybe 5% right now, but it's increasing. I'm very heartened by the fact there's so many meetings to go to. There's more activity than I've seen in the last 40 to 45 years. Of course, the reason there's more activity is that the government is going communist so much faster. The government owns 61% of General Motors. It's communized the insurance industry. It's communized the healthcare industry. Unless, and this is important, an important reason to support state candidates for state legislature, we have to reintroduce the concept of nullification that Jefferson and Madison proposed after the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798, because the FedGov is obviously not going to regulate itself. The people of the sovereign states have to regulate it. We need legislators and at least governors who will say, no, this is unconstitutional, we will not support it in Ohio. And this is growing rapidly, and that's a very good sign.
All right. Now, you mentioned General Motors. General Motors, this is another piece of propaganda. General Motors, the president's been out there on TV saying we paid our loan off.
Yeah, they paid it off with the second loan. They're liars.
Right. What they did is they said 5 years ahead of time. So again, but it's more propaganda. It's more theatrics, and
it's lies.
And they're supported by NBC, ABC, the whole Obama machine out there. And, well, they fooled most of the people.
They're not fooling quite as many as they used to.
And then, but let's take a look at that, too. Now, here, you had Obama has taken over General Motors. And, with the unions, these are communists, have taken over. General Motors sales are down, okay? Ford, the only one that did not take any money. Now, that's an interesting thing.
That's a good sign.
Well, we had a boycott against Ford for supporting sodomy. Well, they repented of that, and they refused to take any money, and their sales are up. They're making a big profit, and they're owned now independent. They're not owned by
correct
by the Communist Party. And by the way, those folks, the stockholders, the shareholders, the ones that were with General Motors, they got second place to the unions, to Obama's comrades when Obama's comrades came in. And here now, the same thing with the only jobs that are growing are these federal jobs, and they're making an average over $70,000, which is about $34,000 more than the average worker.
Yeah, the communists talk about the exploitation of the people, but it's the communist governments that exploit the people more than anything else.
Well, the idea is Obama's trying to build this communist army on all these federal workers, but they don't understand the federal government does not produce anything, and it's got to collapse. And of course, that's their idea. But he wants to try to find a way to get the guns away from the people first, okay? Because again, he's growing and growing this huge monster with an insatiable appetite. This huge federal government.
Oh, Arizona has repealed all its gun laws. You don't need any sort of test or registration anymore. Arizona is the third state to restore the right to keep and bear arms to its citizens. I want Ohio to be the fourth.
Well, Ohio is an open carry state.
But you still have to take the test and go through the hoops and all the regulations.
No,
In a free
that's
country,
for concealed carry.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay, yeah.
You don't
but
have
even
to
with open carry, there are jurisdictions where the cops will harass people.
Well, yeah, there's going to always be that. I mean, and we don't want people wearing guns into schools. We don't want people wearing guns into churches.
That depends on the church. That depends on the pastor or minister of the church, or the owner of the school. In a free society, the owner of the property. If you don't want me to carry arms onto your property, then I shouldn't carry arms onto your property. But if I don't carry arms on your property, you're responsible for me if someone shoots me.
Well, even in the early church, back during the day, even the pastors, the patriot pastors who wore their uniforms under their robes.
Correct.
But the congregation, they leaned old Betsy up against the walls outside. They didn't bring her into the sanctuary.
Well, that's up to the congregation.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up to the government.
Right.
It should be up to the owner of the property.
You know what? I don't know what is going on tonight because normally these phone lines are ringing off the hook. So we either have them real scared out there tonight, or they're confused. But the phone lines are open. 888-677-9673 nationwide. We're talking about some very controversial things here tonight. 888-677-9673. Maybe my coughing's run them off. I'm sorry if it has. I'm doing the best I can. Didn't have time to get a replacement. Locally, 216-216-901-0933. Let's talk about marriage, okay? You say marriage should be restored as a sacred institution between the contractors and God.
Yes.
For those who regard it simply a contract, the only duty of the state is to guarantee the contract, not to dictate its terms.
You shouldn't have to go to the state for a license to marry people.
That's right, because that license is really a tax. And
also, a license is permission to do something which is otherwise illegal.
Well, there's
is it illegal to have people marry?
Well, there's a contract with that most people don't see. They find out that it's a contract, for example, between Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones, and the state of Ohio.
Especially when children come. I understand
the state of
that
Ohio
theory.
getting the fruit of the marriage of the union, being the benefactor of the state of Ohio. So when people do that, you enter into a state where you literally open up all your property to the state, don't you?
Yes. Well, I understand this theory, and it's how the government operates, although I would argue that if you enter into a contract unknowingly, it's not a legitimate contract. But that's what they're doing. They're stealing children. They're trying to tell people how to live their lives, and it has to stop.
That's under a legitimate judicial system. We haven't had that in a long time. All right, let's take a call. Phone lines are open. Who do we have, Jerry? Robbie, you're in the air. Hello, you're in the air.
Hello.
Hello. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, how you doing, Pastor?
Well, not too good, to tell you the truth, Robbie. I'm not feeling too good tonight, but
not feeling too good. How come?
Well, I've got myself I had some surgery yesterday, and while I was in the hospital, I picked up a horrendous chest cold, and it's really given me some problems.
You're too young for that.
Yeah.
You're just a young pup yet.
Yeah. What can we do for you?
Yeah, what's going on in Arizona with this Obama thing here?
Well, what is going on in Arizona, it's got to do with the federal government not doing the job. Their job is to protect the people. You have illegal aliens. You have the Communist Party. You have provocateurs. You have agents provocateurs who are communist agents like Al Sharpton down there trying to start a border war. That's what he's down there. He wants to start a border war. That's his purpose. And the idea is to find a reason to suspend the elections come November. And that's what you will not hear on NBC, ABC, or CBS. And what you have there is a Judas goat.